Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Before we begin, we have Brother Marcus. He has already, I talked to him. He is ready to take his shahada, inshallah. So I'm going to say the words, you repeat after me, okay? Ashhadu. Ashhadu.
Ashhadu.
Allah.
Allah.
Ilaha.
Illallah. Wa ashhadu. Anna. Muhammadan. Abduhu. Wa rasuluhu. I bear witness. There's no deity of worship but Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad, peace be upon him, his servant and messenger.
Takbir. 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 May Allah bless you. We have your contact.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا
الحمد لله. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا وحبيبنا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. صدق الله العظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Alhamdulillah, we begin with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and by sending the best of salutations, peace and blessings upon his last and final messenger Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If I could make one first and last request of all the brothers, if you could please move forward and fill in the empty gaps and spaces that you see. Day by day, week by week, it's becoming more difficult in preparing for a khutbah. I'll say that again. Day by day, week by week, it's becoming more difficult in being able to speak publicly and trying to deliver a message to the community for our own good. And subhanallah, strange as things are, they are only becoming more stranger. We thought COVID was the end of the world. It wasn't. One could safely assume and say it was merely the beginning of the trials and tribulations that would come and eventually envelop the entire planet. And no home will be left safe and secure, but that a fitna will invade, a fitna, a test, a trial and tribulation would affect that immediate household. And this is all from the prophecies of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How things are moving at such a fast pace. It's as if we're within a dream, subhanallah. It's as if we aren't able to catch our breath, and before we're able to breathe and let out what we inhaled, there's another test and trial awaiting us. We come across another piece of information. We come across another yet new breaking news of some unfortunate event that may have happened in a different part of the globe. And subhanallah, as Muslims, what do we do? The answer is simple. Subhanallah, the answer is simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned within the Quran those who believe and those who act upon this beautiful faith of Iman and Islam. What is our duty? What is our expectations? Do not leave this world, but that you leave as a Muslim. Subhanallah. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu attaqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Before I tell you the near translation, how many of us here make this dua frequently, that Ya Allah, allow us to live as Muslims and allow us to die as Muslims? That Ya Allah, grant us a life filled with Iman and grant us a death filled with Iman. How often do we make this dua? Subhanallah, it's become so much more difficult to do any good that may be left. And then not only that, to be a part of the good that's happening. It's as if all of us are slowly but surely withdrawing to our corners. It's as if all of us want nothing else, nothing more to do with anyone else. And subhanallah, the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam are so detailed, and they're mentioned with such explicit information and vivid pictures and images that if we were just to read the chapters of fitan, we would surely, without a doubt at this moment, leave everything be and move into the mountains. As Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam has prophesied. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has stated, what is our obligation? What is our job and task and responsibility? For as long as we breathe, we cannot give up. For as long as we breathe, we continue to pray and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The dua of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam comes to mind. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. That my prayers, my sacrifices that I've made, my life and even my death, it is only for one, Allah, Rabbul Alameen, Lord of the worlds. Subhanallah, all praise and glory belongs to Allah. We need to be conscious. We need to be conscious and live as Muslims with a sense of purpose. Subhanallah, it is strange enough that we don't know about the current affairs of the world. We don't know about what's happening next door to us. We don't know about what's happening around us. Subhanallah, it is not befitting of a mu'min or a Muslim to be unaware of his surroundings, to be unaware of the fitan that are around him and that have surrounded him. Because a mu'min is wise. A mu'min is a man of intellect. A believer, man or woman, they live their lives with a sense of purpose, not forgetting for even a moment that for as long as we're alive, there is that probability and that chance of us falling into disbelief, us falling into kufr, us falling into vice, evil and sayyi'at. We can never rest assured, even for a moment, that I am content in the place and position I am before Allah. That I am content and satisfied knowing who I am as a Muslim and where I stand within my faith. The same analogy, the same example, when it comes to the world, no, I want more. I want more. During COVID, we were able to work dual jobs, dual income, subhanallah, each individual of the family. But what did COVID do? It brought everyone together seemingly. But you know what it did? It separated every person. It separated milk from water. When the entire families and the children and the youth and aunts and uncles all came under one roof, it took a few short days, if not weeks or if not months, for them to realize we cannot coexist. We cannot live with each other. Who are we talking about? Our own blood, our own siblings, our own uncle and aunts and relatives. No, I just can't stand him or her. How many cases have come to you about marriages that have fallen apart during COVID? Subhanallah, a husband and wife are locked down within the same house, under the same roof. They can no longer go for work. They must station and remain, subhanallah, bunker down. And a few short days later, they figured it's too difficult to coexist between a husband and a wife. And subhanallah, that was merely the beginning of differences. That was merely the beginning of differences. If you take one advice from today's khutbah, for the sake of Allah, leave your differences aside. Your standard, your criteria of uniting is the Quran and Sunnah, no one else and nothing else. Your criteria, your standard of a blissful and enjoyable, successful life of this world and the hereafter is not what the latest research has to say or indicate. It is not the latest statistics. It is not the latest opinions. For me and you, it's the Quran and Sunnah. Whether someone likes it or dislikes it, it should not waver us. It should not make us doubt as to maybe we could live on a different set of standards. Maybe as Muslims, we could follow something else and still live a successful and a pleasantful life. Not for us. Not for us. Take an example which the ulama give and write within books of history. That a rope is usually used when it's thrown from a point of elevation for someone to climb. A rope is usually used to climb, to ascend when it's thrown from a place of elevation, from a higher place. A simple example. 3rd floor, you throw the rope down. Anyone at the bottom, if you're in danger, climb up and inshallah you'll be safe. This is the case. This is the case for a Muslim. We need to climb, we need to ascend, we need to go higher, we need to gain closeness to Allah. But what have we done in our current stage, in our day and time? we're using the same rope to throw off a place of ascension off the 3rd floor and then climbing down. Thinking this is progress. Thinking this rope will save me even though you're going down. The example that is given, Quran and Sunnah, also known as the rope of Allah. For us to be able to live by Quran and Sunnah, we need to implement it. We need to practice it. We need to read it. Ramadan is over. That doesn't mean we're no longer Muslims. Ramadan is over. That doesn't mean that we no longer can find Qur'ans upon the shelves. Ramadan is over. That doesn't mean we stop its recitation or its sima'ah, its listening. I've shared this before in an example. Subhanallah, the barakah and the blessing of Ramadan is such that in the month of Ramadan, within 1 hour of Salatul Taraweeh, the average Muslim, brother or sister, they listen to more Quran in that 1 hour than they would within an entire year of theirs. In 1 hour, they may recite more Quran in the month of Ramadan than they could ever hope to recite equivalent amount within the entire 11 months. And subhanallah, the moment Eid al-Fitr comes, we bid farewell, we salute Islam. It's time for me to bid farewell. It's time for me to move on. I will be a Muslim next Ramadan. No, it was bidding farewell to Ramadan, not Islam. Subhanallah, if we don't know ourselves and the Quran and Sunnah and who we are as Muslims, what is permissible and what is impermissible, what is eatable and what is not, what is doable and what is not, these fitan that are around us will devour us for snacks. We are a snack bite, literally, for the fitan around us. Yet imagine, how could we ever hope to face the fitna and the fitan of Dajjal and his minions? Subhanallah, all it takes for a youngster of today's society is to be misguided through this small device. Is to be misguided because what? Well, I see the world through this lens and I'm afraid you don't have any lens. We're not on the same page. Subhanallah, children of today, they see reality not as it is, but they see it through filters. You can never hope to come to an agreement with them. You can never hope to be on the same page with them. They don't see the world the way you do. For them, things are different. The generational gap is no longer a generational gap. Even a century would not be able to patch up the damage that's been caused and done. But what can? Quran and Sunnah. As adults, we often have, subhanallah, differences. No party is willing to make amends. No party is willing to, forgive and let go. No party is willing to do that. But as, subhanallah, Muslims, if we bring the Quran and Sunnah before ourselves, I need to let go of my differences, my opinions. It's not revelation. I need to adhere and follow the revelation of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran, the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And when we become more aware of our own tradition and faith, even if Dajjal comes before you, he will not be able to harm you. Who is the biggest of all fitan, the greatest of trials that humanity has ever seen. But subhanallah, in our current standing, in our current place and position, I can't even speak my mind anymore, subhanallah. All it takes is one tiny, small, little child of a fitna, and before you know it, there goes our loved one. There goes my son, there goes my daughter, there goes my husband, there goes my wife, I don't know what happened to him. One day he just flipped. One day he just snapped. One day she was no longer the same. No, we failed to realize the indications that we were seeing all along. We failed to notice the differences that came into the human behavior, their behavior. And subhanallah, I must say this, all of a sudden the community will come to the Imam. Imam, you must have a magic wand. Hit the person so that you say a spell and the person's back to normal. And the person starts to listen to me. And the person, comes back within the family, within the house, and becomes righteous again. I don't have a magic wand, subhanallah. I don't know about our Imam, but I don't have one. There is no secret recipe in fixing a person, subhanallah. It's an open recipe given to everyone. It's the Quran and Sunnah. It's the Quran and Sunnah. I'll end with this, subhanallah. The hadith of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentions about tasting the sweetness of Iman. And the moment we taste sweetness of Iman, we'll never want to go to anything else. You can bring me the treasures of the world. You can bring me kingship. You can allow me to become the president of any country. But the moment you've tasted sweetness of Iman, you want nothing else for it. No. What I have is the biggest of treasures. It's the greatest of treasures. 3 things we must do in order to taste the sweetness of Iman. First, that subhanallah, Allah and His Rasul become the most dearest to you. Allah and His Rasul become the most beloved to you. Second, you love each other for the sake of Allah, not for monetary gains, not for self-interest. How often do we find that in our lives? We no longer find Allah within the equation. I'm with you because I know why I'm with you for a few short days until I get my return. When I find my benefit, when I find my, subhanallah, what I've given back in multitude, I'm out. You start to love others for the sake of Allah. And lastly, subhanallah, that you dislike going back to kufr, disbelief, just as if you would dislike being thrown into a pit of fire. 3 things. Keep those in mind, and inshallah, according to the guarantee of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you would have tasted Iman. And the moment you taste Iman, you don't want anything else. Nothing else will matter. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us right understanding of His deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to live as Muslims and to die as Muslims. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. I must say this, if I'm not mistaken, there are multiple janazas today, but one janaza after the 3rd prayer, inshallah. If those of you who can attend, do attend. A great, good, kind-hearted soul, mashallah, by the name of Ali Langston. To the best of my knowledge, I testify that he was a great man. Subhanallah, what a great man he was, who passed away yesterday, leaving behind 3 children. We ask Allah to grant him His forgiveness and to allow him to enter into Jannat al-Firdaus, and to grant his family such patience that they would think and assume that, Ya Allah, it is thanks to you that now that he's gone and we know that he's in a better place than this world. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وقال تعالى فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون. أقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Please straighten the rows and fill in the gaps. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. القارية ما القارية وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.